Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Film School Show. We have a good one, a feisty one for you today.
Little spicy, another spicy meatball.
Yeah. Jason McCutcheon in the house with me as always. Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk about this. I think we have to do our due diligence like every single wedding industry podcast and talk about this article written by the New Yorker entitled
Does the Knot have a fake leads problem? And this is
Yes.
a New Yorker article that just came out, I guess, the beginning of the month. So almost 3 weeks ago
We're a
today
little
when
behind.
we're recording. We're a little bit behind, but,
Yeah.
people had requested this on Facebook. That
We have an actual leads problem, so we didn't really have time to get to it.
Yeah, April is usually when we have a real leads problem, just in general. But things are picking up a little bit for us, as they usually do. April is, for us up in the Northeast, probably the slowest part of the year. I actually was speaking to another person in the area, and they were like, "Are your leads slowing down?" It's like freaking out. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
"Yeah."
April.
I was like, "Yeah," but literally, it's almost to the exact number we did last April to this April,
It's
and
just the
last
calm
March
before
to
the
this
storm.
March.
It's just the calm before the storm, people.
Everyone's freaking out about the economy, which I get. I get it. Every year I worry about the economy too. Well, what we're doing seems like ever since COVID just like,
Well, they
scarred us.
just showed us that they could just destroy our lives in 1 week if they feel like it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That's not great.
Yeah.
To
Just
live in.
redlining all the time. Just
No, it's not great
Yeah.
when you're like, why do I feel afraid all the time?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, because they proved to me they would just wipe my business out for nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yep. So, we're going to talk about this article, and I do think it's interesting because it's interesting, but also because we're actually personally pretty involved in this,
mhm.
like a lot of people out there. We don't.
The reactions are definitely interesting.
But I do think where we might be different is we actually spend a lot of money comparatively to other people on the Knot and Wedding Wire, and have for a decade, maybe, roughly.
Yeah. Well, in
Um,
addition to that, not only do we spend money on the knot, but you know, I have worked in advertising and in marketing, and that's part of like our business. It's kind of inextricable from our background, and it's just like anyone's. And so our view of advertising and our view of lead generation, I think, diverts from most of the industry. So that's the other interesting element to our connection with the knot. We have maybe a different perspective on it, but I don't want to derail you, Jared. So if this is going to derail you, let me know. But I was going to ask you really quick. Why don't you give people like a quick summary of why people are reacting to this article?
Right. So, I mean, first and foremost, when they wrote this article, I was like, yeah, this discussion, this debate has been around for ever since we signed up with them a decade
Yeah,
ago.
is this like news to you guys?
Yeah, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, is this like really that much of a drop that we would be discussing this in 2025? Like, everyone knows that there's some form of weirdness going on at the Knot and Wedding Wire. But I think the broader question is like, is it all fake? I would say no, it's not all fake. The reason I know why is because we actually book quite a few weddings on the Knot and Wedding Wire. And
Yeah.
have done for a while. So much so, and if you listen to the podcast, Jay and I actually like are hawks when it comes to the numbers, and we go through this every single year, and we say, is this worth it? No. Is this working? Yes or no? Should we change? Maybe. Like, we are pretty dynamic in how we approach it. But you have to be.
But
You have
what
to be a
about
real business person here.
what is the article's claims?
So the article's claims is a bunch of people traditionally have said fake leads come from the Knot.
Mm-hmm.
And so much so that people will go on Facebook groups or wherever people congregate and talk about it and say, that place is terrible. They're awful. They're a scam, X, Y, and Z. So much so that a group of people actually got together and tried to litigate against the Knot and Wedding Wire. Through
That was
lawsuit.
years ago, by the way. If you're like, that's part of why I reacted the way I did when I saw it. I was like, really? We're talking about this again? This happened years ago.
Right. Happened years ago. But then also, I think people try to pass some kind of laws against the knot too, and get their Congress people involved.
I couldn't make heads or tails of what they wanted the knot to do, but anyway.
Yeah, right. From what I read, and you and I have read, I mean, this is a very long article, and frankly, it's kind of a boring
Oh my
article.
god, okay, just this is just my editorializing on it.
Yeah.
This article sucks. It's so
Well,
boring.
you know,
It doesn't make a statement ever. It has no claims. It just meanders through unsubstantiated conversation after conversation. Who reads crap like that and is
well,
like, this is how I'm going to build my opinion?
it's like fake gonzo journalism,
It's
right?
terrible.
It's like that form of journalism, you can enjoy it if it's interesting, but if it's not interesting, it's just like, oh, drags on and on and on.
Especially if you know, like, I just can't stop imagining the exact person who I imagine making those complaints. And then like that some DJ complaining, and I'm going to his website and he's like advertising like how he has like special LED lights he brings or some crap, and you're like, dude, you're getting no leads because you're garbage. Like, I can't stop reading that voice into the article, and so I was like, please give me some break my cynicism article, give me some proof, and then I can stop imagining that all these people are just sour grapes. But regardless, I do think it brings some interesting points up. They do interview some like marketing people. There's like whistleblowers from the knot talking about I don't think nobody actually addresses the claim, are there fake brides, in a direct way. Even the people who work at the knot are like, essentially their assumption is we're not giving these vendors who advertise on the knot. And if you don't know, I can't imagine you don't know this, but it's a listing site. You can pay for a placement on that's why they're talking about the vendors, us, filmmakers, photographers, cake makers, whoever. Um, I don't really think anybody who was on the knot side or any whistleblowers addresses fake leads at all. They just kind of like, and maybe I'm missing it, so maybe people in the comments will come after me or whatever. And I'm not defending the knot either. I'm just kind of like, when I'm reading an article, I'm always looking for facts.
Hmm.
What are the facts?
Yeah.
The facts are this: the knot is a website that has wedding listings, and you can pay money to advertise on it. Some people get a bunch of ghost leads, and some people don't. Or, maybe they do, but they don't. They also get real ones. Why? That's kind of it. And I do think there is probably a fact that the knot, for one reason or the other, knowingly or unknowingly, misrepresents their traffic to people and has a very we'll say generously aggressive sales tactic to get people to sign up that isn't really based on communicating the true value of what they're actually going to get. And so I do think some vendors sign up to be on the knot with maybe poor expectations of what they're going to get. And that's why I brought up our marketing background.
Well, yeah, it's their business. It's their business, and guess what? Yeah, they're gonna polish it up to make it seem awesome
Mhm.
because it's their business. Their business is to get your money and offer you a service. And then if you don't like the service, you can leave it. Maybe I shouldn't say at any point, but I do think actually out of this they do have like a monthly plan that you can now opt out of
Yes.
at any given time. I think directly due to this article. So hey, maybe that's good. That's a good thing out of this
Yeah. So
article.
so essentially that's kind of the claims. People are frustrated. People think that all the leads, like there's a guy in there who says, "Oh, I'm getting a call and it sounds like they're reading a script." And then I hear in the background it's a call center. What I don't like about the article and what I don't like about the coverage of it is it's essentially insinuated by some people that that this article is claiming that the knot is running these farms.
Right.
It doesn't ever say that. There's no proof to that. And all the whistleblowers, you think if these whistleblowers knew about that they would be saying like, dang, we're not helping. No, they would be saying we're literally like, why is no whistleblower saying that? So it's like, I didn't like that they allowed some of that hyperbolic sour grapes in there that really proved that that person does not understand the internet.
I know. Well, this is the thing. When you've been in this industry for a while, and to people's credit, and I'll side with them for a second. Um, when you've been doing this for a while, you know what a real lead feels like and what a fake lead feels like. So you have a lot of people on here being like, "This feels off. This feels different. It doesn't feel like the typical."
You're definitely getting
Not
a
only not my ideal client, but like a freaking weirdo who doesn't even know how to speak my language correctly, right? Um, they like right here, one of the girls was like, you know, "Can you tell me more about your services?" And we'd be like, "We're a bridal store. What do you think we do?" Like, but that's a question I get asked, like, why do people ask me what kind of camera I use? That's a stupid question because they're just told to ask that question. Just like somebody's asked to say, "Tell me more about what you do." Like, it's not a, people that are calling you aren't always going to be the brightest. There's a wide range of people that are reaching out, and they're just going to be like, "Tell me about your store a little bit." Like, that's not a weird question. That doesn't mean it's a fake lead. They might just not be a great lead, or they might not be an intelligent person, or like, there's a million things,
Yeah,
right?
but
So,
it doesn't even there's if you're thinking that this if you're listening to other podcasters and not reading the article yourself, or you have an axe to grind,
yeah,
and the only reason I'm bringing this stuff up is to just kind of level set what the article actually says. So when we talk about it,
right,
we're not talking about this article that proves that the knot is running lead farms.
right. Well, even when that guy said that in the article, he was like, "It sounds like people are in the background and they're in a call center." I was like, that feels weird to me. I think that guy's lying about like his experience. I mean, would you be surprised if some people just are sour grapes about the knot and wedding wire because it didn't work out for them? So they're just would spew lies about the knot and wedding wire.
Or they're just
I wouldn't be surprised
they're
at
they
all.
s- like they sunk like $20,000 into DJ equipment, and then their DJ business doesn't take off in 1 year because they advertised on the knot,
Right,
and then they're
right.
mad about it.
So
It's like,
take it all with a grain of salt.
yeah,
Like,
definitely. You always have to in this industry. Like
yeah,
any complaint you get about anything, I think statistically, 8 out of 10 people who try to do this won't last more than 3 years.
hmm
There is a massive amount of sour grapes. And rarely have you ever heard a person been like, "Well, why did your business fail?" I was just very bad at photography. I would take my photos, I would lose them. You know, I said racial slurs at this one wedding, and and then everyone said, "Don't hire me anymore," and now I'm out of business. No, they go, "Oh, well, I'm out of business because I lost $2,000 on the knot." You're like, so I think there's this influx of parallel issues, and then we'll actually talk about it because we'll have numbers. We have numbers. We'll give you numbers, and I'm not defending the knot.
hmm
So I'll tell you what. There's this parallel problem. We have an industry filled with amateurs and people who know nothing about advertising who actually believe that you should get less leads. Like the amount of people in the wedding industry who are so psyched on not generating leads and overly curating their leads and all this,
Well,
it's very
yeah.
significant.
This is a good point. And so let's lean on your background as an advertiser, as a marketer. What would you say your average, how many leads do you have to get typically in the wedding industry to get a single booking? How
This
many would you
isn't
say?
even wedding industry. This is just online. Any online sales that you do, and it's funny, I was with Lindsay Conklin. This is part of what we talked about at Clarity in his talk. A 1% close rate, and that is out of total leads. The problem with the wedding industry is the average person in the industry does not understand the terminology around advertising or marketing, right? So they go, "Oh, I have a 20% like close rate," and you're like, now this can be impossible to know, but you really don't have a 20% close rate because your close rate is based on a bigger number. So at the end of the day, um, if you are running ads online, especially in ecom, a 1% close rate would be very good. Or not very good, just normal-ish. And you could go a little higher and a little lower, but like, and what does that mean? It means, is it off impressions? No, it's not off impressions. Like if you ran an ad and it showed it to 10,000 people, it's off clicks, it's off engagements. So like the first thing you need to look at is like, what is my first click? Then I would start calculating my close rate. I wouldn't count my close rate off impressions because you don't know where if if that person actually even saw your picture on the knot. They could have just missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
They scrolled through it. There's 20 people on that page.
Yeah.
Whatever.
At the end of the day, that's not meaningless information
Right.
because if you're not getting like if 10,000 people are seeing your ad and only 200 are clicking, it tells them that there's something wrong with the image.
Mhm.
But that's kind of all you can really know.
Yep.
And
there is some value there because if you change the image
yeah, you might.
and you still have the same amount of impressions, but now your visitors are doubling. Oh, you chose a better image. Like
Maybe you have a bad name. Maybe you need more
Right.
reviews. There's a lot of things, but like something about that first thing that the person saw, they didn't trust you
Mhm.
and they weren't interested. But let's
or the
assume that,
shoppers, or,
let's assume that
whatever.
no, if they're not clicking, they're not interested. That's just a fact.
Mhm.
So if they click, then you're entering into a new realm. The lead journey starts. And at that point, that person can fill out a form on the knot, which I think the knot probably calls their leads. I'm assuming they will use that term leads. I think, what does he say? The average lead is $30 in that article.
I think he said it was a lot lower. It was like 30 cents.
30 cents. That's not true. But that's my point. My guess is he's calculating that off impressions,
Yes.
which is also scummy. But shame on you for not catching
But
that.
maybe visitors is a lead to him.
Well, I would call that a lead somewhat on his end because they clicked on your profile.
Clicked on your profile. Is that a lead?
I think it's not totally dishonest for them to call it that.
Mhm.
I wouldn't personally, for my numbers, call it that.
No.
But I think if they call impressions leads, that's dishonest.
Yeah.
Because you could be below the fold. Anyway.
There's a lot of stages here, right?
I know. That's just the whole problem is this
Right.
is complicated.
You have your impressions. This is the way the knot kind of breaks it down. Impressions, visitors, leads, link clicks, saves, reviews, calls. But then on our end, like we keep track of our numbers too. So how many leads? I really feel like a real lead is like a hot lead,
Fill
right?
out
Can
our
we say
form.
that? A hot lead is when someone fills out my form.
Yes.
That's a hot lead. Maybe. Maybe they're just.
It's a legitimate
is.
lead
It
at the
is,
very least
actually.
because it's a human being. They had to
Yep.
for a person to go from the knot to your website's forum page
Yep.
has a huge commitment.
Yep. Yep.
So that is a good lead.
Yep.
And so this is the thing people don't realize is like they're not processing how many things a person needs, how many hoops a person needs to jump through before they're even sending you an email.
Mhm.
And so I think like at the end of the day, we'll give our numbers and we'll do. Let's do that a little later because I don't want to sound like we're just defending the knot because I don't care about the knot.
I hate the knot. I hate the fact that we have to deal with it, right? Like I hate all of this. It's a terrible part of our industry, advertising. You know why? Exactly what you're saying. None of us know how to do this. Initially, you get into it. No one gets into the wedding industry. I shouldn't say nobody, but most people don't get into
Well,
the
the
wedding
ones
industry.
that do are not necessarily good.
As an advertiser,
Yes.
like you have to learn along the way, and you might learn well, you might learn poorly, you might have to only film, or do 10 weddings a year. You're not doing a lot of advertising. It's all word of mouth. Great. Advertising is one of the worst parts of what we have to do, right? Getting reviews filled out. No one likes to do that kind of stuff.
Even just
Um,
marketing, just like lead gen in
Right.
general sucks. But
It's-
but the fact that if you don't create fresh leads from the wild through non-organic ways, you're pretty much on a waiting game.
Mhm.
And I really don't recommend that to most people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And we'll dive into our numbers and hopefully that will be helpful to people in a little bit, just to give people a sense of like what our experience is and what I think a realistic expectation of a site like the Knot and how we use the Knot as a tool, right?
Yes.
Because it maybe there's some other places that you can get better, cheaper leads, and we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
But why do we still, even though they might be a little bit more expensive than I prefer, why we would still even value?
Well, it's just
something
more
like
the
the Knot?
philosophy of advertising.
Yeah.
And a philosophy of lead gen. And I think if I could make one, I do want to talk about things I don't like about the Knot and things I find very frustrating. But before I do that, I think our industry needs to grow up. Like people in our industry don't know anything about how the our actual industry works. And I can say, like, from a fact, talking to some of the biggest people who are in their ivory towers, they don't understand how normal. They almost disdain the idea that there are weddings other than ultra luxury.
Well, Marcy Bloom's in this article, and
Yeah,
she's like, "It was a joke. The knot was a joke."
they don't like the idea that these. I mean, not I'm not speaking for Marcy, but
Yeah.
like a lot of people start from a premise of those people who are on the knot suck.
Hmm.
Anyone who's on the knot who's trying to book their wedding through that is a garbage person.
Hmm.
I don't want to have anything to do with them. They're not classy enough for me. They're not cool enough for me. Their weddings are garbage. And some people out of desperation will still advertise anyway, but they still
Yeah.
have that bias in their brain
Yeah.
that like these weddings are beneath them.
Yeah.
And I really honestly think like there's also a component of like nobody tells anybody in our industry that they suck.
Hmm.
So many people suck, dude. So many people suck. They act like absolute idiots. They treat people terribly. They're so unprofessional. And we have no controls over professionalism. And so the other side of that is they've never run a successful business. They don't even know that what they're experiencing is totally normal. And then they run their mouth and they corrupt everybody because everybody else is the same. And so we have this industry of people that don't know how to run businesses. And then people at the top of the industry who hate all the businesses that those people run,
Hmm.
telling them how to run their businesses the way that they run their businesses,
Hmm.
which they can't do because they can't even run the basic business. And so the bias around these kind of like topics whenever they come up are just a bunch of people who think they're better than other people talking to a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing at all. And there's nothing like my biggest frustration with that article is I'm like, this is the wedding industry. It is a bunch. What is that? Sound and fury signifying nothing. There's nothing in that article. That article is a bunch of whiners on both sides. Fired people whining. Like I will say this will be my hot take, and this offends. I hope this offends you, and I hope you private message me, and I hope you come right at me. If you sign up to a 1-year contract for something, and then you think you're the good guy when you want to cancel it, I hope every one of your clients tries to cancel your contract and see how you feel.
And see what stands up against the law.
Grow up.
Yeah.
You-
I will say there is all, and our lawyer always says this, like, it's a matter of like what is legal and what you want to really like deal with as a PR standpoint.
I don't
Like-
care if somebody tries to get out of the contract.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase.
Try to
If
get
you
out of the
get out of
contract
it,
just because
go
it's a
for it.
pain. Like,
Yeah, go for it. But if your actual real opinion is that you are having an injustice acted upon you for someone making you keep your word, like you're running a small business that would destroy you if you did that. You need to like practice the ethics that you expect other people to practice with you.
Right.
And if you're not, you're just a hypocrite.
Right.
And I think that comes up a lot. So anyway,
a contract is a contract, whether it works for you or it doesn't.
they're not abusing you.
You could hire a bad videographer, and guess what? Like, you signed a contract with them. You
So-
agreed to pay them, and if they didn't violate their contract, you don't get your money back.
Now that I've had my mini wedding industry rant, I think we should kind of give some credence to some of the criticisms in the knot because we do advertise a lot there. I would not tell most people to advertise on the knot. And there are a lot of reasons, and there are a lot of valid criticisms that were brought up. I just didn't like the way that they were presented, but they're not invalid. So what are some of the things that you were like, oh, that's bad. Well, that's bad. Like that kind of stuck out to you about
Yeah.
maybe in the article, maybe even outside of the article.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say I agree with you, and it's the reason why we advertise on the knot for one of our companies and not at all for another one of our companies, and then do a little bit for one of our companies. I would say there definitely are fake leads on the Knot and Wedding Wire. I
Yeah.
would say it's a small percentage. My alarm bells don't go off when I get a templated message from somebody. Saying even sometimes like what will happen on the knot, because I'm in there, I'll see.
Don't they have pre-populated things they can send
Yeah,
on their end?
they do. Pre-populated messages.
Yeah.
You get most of them are just, hey, I'd like to find out more information about you.
Mm.
And there are some discrepancies in there. So things like in the pre-filled form, it'll say wedding is in Boston, Massachusetts. They type that in, but then in the message, it'll say, hey, we're getting married in Newport. So in the message, it's different than what the actual uh, project says it's under. So that's a little bit weird. Maybe that's an indicator, but also maybe it's a mistake on
Or
their
maybe
part.
they have to, maybe it's based on the marketplace they're in.
Maybe. I'm generally like, that's a little weird. My alarm bells go off a little bit there.
But like fake leads are just a part of all advertising.
Sure, sure.
Like this is again, I think the average person's never advertised.
Yep.
If you get 20% spam leads in any digital advertising, that is like you must really like here's what I think is funny about it. Those same people that complain about the fake leads don't complain about spam heart clicks on their posts.
Mhm.
It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Fake engagement on a social media account. So you would think people would be a little more like understanding, like, but yes, there are fake leads. That is true.
This stuff exists. Bots are real. Like people are, there's crawlers. Like you're just gonna have to deal with it. But that's the case, to your point, across the board. When you're dealing with a normal business marketing on Meta, there's gonna be a lot of fake leads or fake opportunities that are gonna be there as well. A lot of fake impressions that are there, just bots that are scrolling through. So you're just gonna have to deal with this no matter what. I think it just gets blown up into this big thing. Like I got this lead and it was definitely fake. Therefore, it's all fake. And I don't really buy into that because again, we do get booked.
Well, I
quite
mean,
a bit.
here's the deal. If you suck and you're not reputable, you don't have any reviews, you have a terrible business name and a terrible photo, do you think that the spammers are going to skip you?
No.
That guy sucks. I would never hire them.
No.
No, they're messaging everyone.
Yeah.
The only people that are skipping you are the people that don't want to work with you.
That's true. So you might get more spammers because
you suck.
Yeah.
That is the actual like Occam's razor of the whole thing. What is most likely is if you don't get leads, you're not a compelling product.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are fake leads. We acknowledge that.
Yeah. It's just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing.
Well,
Like,
and also,
if you're getting mostly bathwater and less babies,
do you want
then,
to talk about the topics as you bring them up, or do you want to summarize them all?
what topics?
I said, what are some of the things you don't like about the knot?
Oh, that like that there are actual fake leads.
Yes, that's not ideal.
I don't know. What about what are things that you have in mind? That's the main thing for me, probably.
I would say
Is the value worth it?
Adjacent to that
Mhm.
is they don't validate their lead. They don't validate their accounts properly.
Sure.
You don't even. I think you don't even have to provide the email or something.
Right. What should be done is if it was me, CEO of XO company, whatever, whoever owns the Knot now, I would say, hey, everyone's saying we have a fake lead problem. Now, if you want to create an account, you have to fill out a 2FA. You have to have two-factor authenticator.
Yes.
To go to an email address because that usually roots out a lot of bots.
And I would say that my issue with the Knot on it is not that they have fake leads, but that this is somewhat theoretical because I haven't heard anyone say it, but they kind of insinuate it with some of the employees kind of reacting like, oh, I screwed my team and like, or screwed my vendors. And then like saying like, if I told people the truth, I would lose, like if I let them out of the contracts, they kind of insinuate some of these things, but they don't ever explicitly say what I think is really true, which is the Knot knows that they don't have great traffic and that most people don't make money and that that it's a knife fight. Like they might sell like 50 spots and internally, right? They go like, yeah, like, but only the first 5 make any money. They probably know this. And they know that like, if they make a promise to you, like, oh, the average person on here averages 200 leads a year, they know for a fact that like if you're not very like the actual good people are averaging like 600 leads and all the crappy people are averaging 50 leads and they're all fake
Mhm.
because they're not good at like they know that there's something broken about their lead generation. And that's why they don't vet people. Because if they did vet people, it would kill their numbers. And like if you don't understand advertising, the reason why like television is all about ratings is because it's all about hit rate on your ads for the advertisers. The advertiser, like, if you have 1,000 eyes on this, I'm going to close on 1% of those people.
Mhm.
If you have, same if you have 10, so it's a numbers game. And I think the Knot needs to reckon with the fact that they're a failing website. That, and this is somewhat theoretical because I don't think they even address that, Jared.
Mhm.
But they don't have the traffic to support the numbers that they're selling, and they are overselling their site. They're selling it to too many vendors who can more than can be successful on their site. I think they know this, and I think they do it anyway. And I think that is the actual ethical problem with the Knot and the actual problem with the internet in general right now is that if you're running a thing where you're like Jared's site of pictures of photographers with an inquiry form, right? You don't make money when those people make money.
Mhm.
You make money when those people give you money. So all you need to do is make them give you money.
Yes.
That's their business.
Yep.
And if you're signing up for it and you don't understand what the incentive structure is, somewhat shame on you, but also they know that you don't understand.
Mhm.
They know the industry that they're dealing with. You are susceptible. Like all the criticisms that I rendered could also be probably called like vulnerabilities.
Mhm.
And they're known vulnerabilities by these companies when they're advertising to like grandma's cakes. It's her dream to start her cake company. Oh, we have our average cake person is doing 500 leads a year. Well, okay. Why are you doing the average? Like, what's the median though?
Mhm.
Like, what's the close rate? Like, there's so many things that go into it, and I honestly believe that the Knot knows this. If I was to like plug them, push them, they would truth serum the guy, whoever Mr. Knot is. He would tell me like, yeah, we know most of these people aren't making any money,
Mhm.
and I guess I don't know whose like problem that is, and I don't know if I can fault them if for doing the same thing as the entire internet. But I think a lot of the problem with the wedding industry is we are not accustomed to do. Think about like wedding planners. Look at their view of advertising. It's literally supposed to be free in their mind.
Mhm.
They're like, well, I did a wedding and you shot a picture, so we're like, well, if you don't give me that picture, my couples are not. I'm not going to refer you anymore.
Yeah. You're blacklisted.
You're blacklisted, so you better give me free advertising.
Yep.
Like everyone in the industry is conditioned to think of advertising and lead generation as a free thing,
Mhm.
but it's not. And when people get into the world of like, we'll talk about our numbers, but a 1% close rate on actual leads, they're actually floored by that. They can't believe how hard it is to get a client.
Right. Right.
But it's true. And I think the Knot knows this, and I don't think that they're totally honest about it.
Yeah. And also everyone's doing it. I understand the obsession with the not wedding wire because they're like the first
Yeah,
and
and,
the
and they're big.
behemoth. But I mean, we've been spending money on Style Me Pretty. We're on their black book this year.
Oh, a ton of leads there, huh?
Well, you know what? I think they have a new thing where they will have people fill out information. And
They'll
it's
refer you.
listen, this is how it works for Style Me Pretty. It's a little strange, but stay with
I
me.
think I like that idea though.
Um, they they have people fill out the form. They send a broad email to everyone who's on Little Black Book. Hey, this is how I think it works. By the way, no transparency, just like
Other
not
criticism that
yeah,
we have, no
no
transparency.
transparency. But someone will fill out. I want to find out more information from the Not Wedding Wire. Here's my email address. They send that to everyone on the Little Black Book. If they say they're interested in video, they send it to the entire Black Book, their email address. So I get a notification that says, "Hey, this person filled out the form." Now I can copy and paste it and email them. So we'll kind of get leads, but I've sent out a ton of those responses last year from, I think, September to December. We got 21 leads that way, 0 responses, 0 even responses to the email.
Fake leads.
So it's like, but guess what? I know what it is.
But also, you haven't sent out even 100 yet. I wouldn't expect a single closed lead until I send 100 out.
I know what it is. Like, so for me to be like, those are fake leads or whatever. No, they're just not interested. They're not hot by any means. They're extremely cold. I probably send them a message and they're like, who the heck is this person? They never even saw
But
my
it's
profile.
not like you got on the
whatever.
phone with them. Like, if you were on the phone with them and you, like, this is
Right.
the average wedding person thinks like, oh, 10, 20% close. We talk about close rate a lot.
Mhm.
And, you know, we probably do a disservice because we use the same metric everyone else does, which is who filled my form out.
Yep.
In reality, we're not doing a 15% close rate. We're probably doing like a 2% close rate, Jared.
Mhm.
If you consider like everyone who is engaging with us,
Yeah.
even less, like a 0.3% close rate. Who knows? It's really hard to calculate, but it's certainly not like if I sent 20 emails out, I wouldn't expect to close on any of them.
Mhm.
If I sent 200 out and I didn't get any replies, that would be a different story. But it's like we have a lot of context, and that I think is overall like my biggest critique with the entire wedding advertising industry. It's very predatory in that way.
Mhm.
They don't. You couldn't get away with this crap if you were like selling to corporations for ad buy.
Mhm.
They'd be like, no, we know our metrics.
Yeah. I think the reason why this part of the conversation gets a little swampy and weird is, I think the close rate is going to depend on your industry, and the source, right? Like if a planner is sending you a lead, that's a high quality lead. You might have a 50% close rate, 75% close rate, 99% close rate from a lead that comes from a vendor, right? That's a good quality. But then the person that you're on the Knot and Wedding Wire, that's going to be a lot less quality. Maybe you are at that 2% close rate. Like that's totally understandable. So, understanding that as well. And also, if you're I don't know, if you do something unique, if you're a venue, right? I can imagine a venue's, actually, I don't know, would you think a venue's close rate would be higher or lower
Wicked
than
low,
ours?
because venues have very low supply.
And they also
So like they're like, I don't know how they calculate.
They also aren't posting their prices, so you have a million people that are just asking for prices. Do you post your prices on the website?
Well, it's also
That's
the
also
first thing
going
that
to
everyone
affect your
does.
close rate.
It's the first thing that everyone buys, and it affects their entire budget.
Yeah.
So like it's trickle down. So like if you want to get mad at anybody in the industry who's hurting your sales numbers, guys, it's definitely venues.
Yeah.
But
But
they're going to get a million of them, is my point.
what do you think of what I said about, posting your prices as affecting your close rate?
Everything affects your close rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're posting your prices on the website, you might just shut down a lot of people that were technically leads, but they didn't fill out the form because you were out of the price
I mean,
range.
at the end of the day,
So-
the overall question that's being analyzed about the Knot, but I think it's more broadly because my first thing I'll say in the Knot's actual defense is the Knot is not worse than other people, my opinion.
Yeah.
But based on a lot. I had a call with The Lane. I like The Lane. They're a cool magazine. Well, digital, whatever they are now. But they're cool. They're a cool brand. They do a lot of cool stuff. And they wanted us to be, they invited Huxley Film to be in like their version of the little black book. It's like, and they're like trying to get me to sign up. And it's all about, we're going to give you like exclusive, we're going to feature you once a year. Like all these things that they're not terrible. But at the end of the day, I was like, how many people go to your thing and how many people should I expect to see on my thing? And they're kind of like, essentially don't know and don't really want to talk about it. What they want to talk about is how prestigious they are and how if they feature me, everything will be great.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I'm like,
which might be valuable, by the way.
well, then I said, okay, who's that been valuable to? How much money do they make?
Yeah.
And they didn't have an answer. And I'm realizing I know that I'm asking questions no one else asked, but at the end of the day, I'm not saying that to criticize them. I'm saying
Right.
this is a standard operating procedure
Well,
with wedding professionals.
yeah.
Is like you don't need to actually talk about ROI. All you got to talk about is like you're going to get your name out there.
Yeah.
And it goes that way with artists forever. And as long as artists are susceptible to being m- manipulated by the promise of status and ego,
Yeah.
they're why should they ever have to, like, you're the reason that they don't know these numbers because only Jason McCutcheon asked them.
Yeah. There's no numbers associated with prestige in the luxury market, right? It's like if you're on the lane, someone's going to see that you're on the lane. It could be a videographer, it could be a planner, it could be a photographer. They see you, and then, you know, they know they can't advertise this. They know they can't actually say, like, well, maybe Marcy Bloom will see that you're on our thing. Or you'll get to, like, because it's so vague and gray and swampy and just, it's not actual concrete at all. So they know you,
Well,
if they gave you numbers, you would be like, you have 100 people to your website
well, I
every
went
month.
to the numbers. I started looking at the reels with the lady on the phone
Yeah.
of the ones that she allegedly shared with. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you have 1,000 plays on this? I have more than that already.
Right.
Why would I do this? And the thing that made me upset about that call, and I would give,
But are the quality of those people higher than the quality that are
why
on?
would they ever be higher?
Because it could be all planners.
It's not.
It could be.
What? It's just who cares, I guess is what I would say.
Who talks about the lane? Is it more clients or is it more planners?
I don't know. I mean, I just
Planners,
I don't.
clearly, because they do talk about it. I've been around them while they're talking about
I
it.
guess I would say what bothered me more than any of it was, and this is, I think, maybe the Knot does this a little bit, but this is why I'm like, the Knot's not even the worst, is what I'm saying. Is like her
Sure.
the way that the inquiry worked. She goes, "I'm interested in collaborating with you,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, I would love to do editorial with the Lane.
Mhm.
Oh, you want to do editorial with us? Is there a shoot? Is there something you want us to do? They strung us along for like a couple months. And I followed up and I was like, hey, is this still something you guys are interested in? And they're like, oh, yeah. And then I get on the call and it's a sales call,
Yes.
which I kind of knew, but I just wanted to see, are you a dirty boy or not?
Mhm.
And I was mad because I'm like, that's not the premise that you started this. You told me you wanted to collaborate. That is not collaborating.
Yes.
If by collaborate, you mean you will do a collab on Instagram if I pay you.
Mhm.
How does that help me? Like that, it's just like, I think that like wedding industry people do get very fatigued by the fact that everyone is trying to trick them,
Mhm.
and no one will tell them the truth. And so for that, I'd say fully the Knot is guilty of that. I don't think they're guilty of everything everyone says about, like, I don't think like if you sign a contract that you have a much like really, I don't care about that. I actually don't think the fake leads are a big problem.
Mhm.
They are a thing, but I don't think it's a big problem. I don't think I don't think that the Knot is masterminding the fake leads. There's no proof or evidence in that article that the Knot is producing these fake leads. But I do think the Knot, Wedding Wire, Lane, Carrots and Cake, all these people know that no one is making money by using their platform, but they will, and by nobody, I mean a tiny fraction of people. And we're one of them. We make money, but probably most other people wouldn't. I think they know that. I think they use very sketchy advertising sales tactics to
Mhm.
get you to sign up, and they're never really actually giving you a very fair picture. So I give them full bad marks on that. And I think people are right to be mad, but you should just be mad about the right thing. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. Let's dive into our numbers
Yep.
before we kind of wrap this up, because I do think this is valuable to people, and just, not throw hate at the naysayers, but just say, hey, it has a place in the wedding world, fortunately or
You might
unfortunately
view
for
this
you.
as not working or working, depending on your opinion.
Yep.
But this is just the true thing.
Yep.
This is just, we're going to give you something that no one else will give you: transparency.
So first, actually, let me go through Stop Go Love, kind of like our mid tier, $5,000 packages to $10,000 packages.
Just
because-
video.
just video. So last year we spent about $1,500, $1,500 for Stop Go Love. So this is like barely any advertising. Off the
Yeah,
bat.
on the Knot, if you're spending $1,500, and this is part of the issue, I think people is
Yeah.
like, I spent $1,500. That's a ton. We're like, we spent nothing.
Yeah,
That's how we view it.
I spent this in our one secret niche place that always makes us a ton of money. That I will not tell anyone where it is because I don't want you to advertise there.
To
But
make our number go up.
spent there $1,500. I booked, I think, $28,000 worth of weddings with 3 weddings at that one location. So 40 leads to the knot. 10 of those hit our website. 3 of them booked. So
So we had 40,
however you want to break
40
that
40
down.
people clicked.
40 people clicked onto our knot profile. Oh, no. More than that. I don't have that number
No,
in
I'm
front
saying
of us.
40 people clicked onto our website.
40 people filled out the form on the knot to message us. When they hit that part, we say, we don't want to talk to you on the knot.
Go to our
Fill out our form. They fill out our form, and then they're in our system.
So we went 40, 10.
10 out of the 10, 3 people booked. $28,000 worth of weddings out of those people.
So if you even
That's
consider
pretty good.
the largest pool of 40, you're doing like a 9% close rate, which is totally fine for fresh leads.
And before you say that's lucky, I will say we do it every year.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's
not
luck.
luck. We book.
Maybe it's not 30 grand. Maybe it's like 20. Somewhere around there. We're booking 2 to 3 based on spending barely any money in this place.
Yes.
So I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe those.
No,
parts are
this is an
fake or
established
whatever.
brand, by the way, guys. It has how many reviews?
Reviews
Reviews
like
are big
80.
on the knot.
I think
Yeah,
80
80
something like that.
reviews. So we have a head of steam there.
Yeah.
In terms of like reviews are a big deal on the knot.
Yeah.
If you don't have reviews, your profile will not function optimally.
Before people get on me, 77.
77
Sorry.
reviews.
77. Sorry.
So it's kind of like a decently established, high quality product.
Yep.
We also have a very good online footprint.
Now let's talk about Merriment Films. Kind of our more volume brand.
Newer brand.
I'll find out how many reviews we have. It's much less.
We've been working on getting it up there.
Yep. So for 21 reviews. So and actually, it's like pulling teeth with these people trying to get reviews.
We've worked harder than to get it on that one than definitely in 10 years of Stop Go Love.
Yep.
So
5.0 as far as the stars, by the way. Within the last year, we had 10,290 impressions.
Right.
Which
That's
we
just
agree
who sees your
people
profile.
scrolling by. That's 10,290 people that are looking for videographers in the places that we're advertising. Out of that 10,000, we had 1,031. Literally almost exactly 10% of those people clicked on the link to visit our site.
So what does that tell us? That tells us
not our website, our not site.
Yeah, our not profile. So that tells us that our not profile, when next to our competitors, is optimally competitive. So we know we don't have a problem there. We're at that we're very successful when it comes to getting people to go to the next level of interest.
Out of that 1,031, 205 people messaged us on the knot, which I would consider them at that point a lead, right? The knot does as well. They call them leads. And actually, they have a nice little explanation on what a lead is. Couples who contacted you to help turn their wedding visions into reality.
Using their form.
Also, which is valuable, link clicks. 382 people clicked on links. So I would assume that brings us into our website.
Yep.
External links to our storefront, or on our storefront to somewhere else. 73 saves. We had 12 reviews last year. 12 of that 20 was just last year, so that's a good number. So yeah, a little bit of the reward from our efforts there. So now let me pull us into once it gets to our website, because I think this is where it actually becomes valuable to us. So Merriment Films, we booked 75 people came to our website, filled out our website form from the Knot and Wedding Wire.
So just
out of the 200,
just in case that was confusing to
10?
you, not 75 people came to our website. 75 people
filled out the form
went
on our website.
and filled out our lead generation form on our website. Some of them maybe just did it. Now, here's what we don't know. How many of them just clicked on the link and filled out the form? How many of them filled out the first not form and then filled out the second form? We don't know that for sure, but
75
Anyway,
people. And I would say also, the pricing is on our website for Merriment Films.
yes.
So out of that 210, was it 205 quote unquote leads from Merriment or from the Knot that came over to our website, only 70 people filled out the form. So that's a burn off of 130 people. Maybe those people saw our pricing. That's the main thing they wanted to find out about us. They burnt off. But still, 70 people saw the pricing, still said, hey, this is good. We want to move forward. And at the end of the day, we booked 10 weddings out of it. So 10,000 impressions breaks all the way down to 10 booked weddings. Average price point around $3,000 overall. I could probably pull up like, hey, these 10 weddings, this is the total amount that they booked, and that would probably be helpful. But that's kind of what we're looking like at the end of the day.
I mean, it's just normal marketing metrics that anyone would
Yeah.
expect. And that's my actual only point.
Yeah.
If you're going to criticize something, know what the heck you're talking about.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, this is normal consumer behavior on the internet.
Yep.
There's nothing aberrant about it. These numbers, like I would say, well, let's start with that 1,000 who clicked on our profile
Yeah.
as a true beginning of the customer journey. If you say like 10 out of 1,000 people that went to something engaged with it, I would say 1%.
Yeah.
That's literally what I would expect from an AdWords campaign to sell a shoe.
Yeah.
Or to do anything. And I know they'll be like, we're not a product, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you are. You're on the internet selling something. To the customer, you are a product. You are you're a service.
This is the other part, and the reason, because with the Knot for Merriment Films, it is very much a most expensive type of lead.
Oh, we're not happy with that price.
I'm not happy with the number but guess what? We're advertising again this year. We're hoping to do better. But here's why I think it's worth the more expensive type of lead. And maybe there's some other places that you could spend dollars, like Meta, Instagram, Facebook,
Yes.
whatever, and bring the
We're
cost
loyal to
down
the Knot. Sorry,
significant-
Knot. We're not.
Yeah, no. If I found another way to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I always like my referral trees. Planting new referral trees, I think is a fair way to say it. Like with the Knot and Wet Around, you're creating new leads
New
from
families,
the wild.
new vendors,
You
new
might-
venues that you work at.
Yep. You do
Like-
that one wedding, you're gonna work in a new venue. You're gonna work with like one sister, the second sister, and the brother's gonna work with you. These are all people that like maybe there's 4, 5, 10 weddings in your future that come from one of these people.
Your referral network is probably your biggest vulnerability
Mhm.
in your business. And this is more true the more luxury you are.
Yeah.
I know people in our industry who have
planners.
had their careers just be ended.
Yep.
Because they did something or got on the bad side of the wrong person.
Yep.
And so it's like people love that ease of getting these referral networks going and with families and vendors. They love that stuff.
Yep.
And I understand why, but it's a vulnerability.
Yeah.
And you're also not going to really grow your opportunities. So we're not really very comfortable, even though we are just like you, generating vast majority of our leads through our referral network, and those are very cheap leads. We're comfortable spending too much on a few leads to break new ground.
Yes.
And I think if you're not understanding the concept of that, you're not running you're just not, you're not very professional.
Right.
I can't say it any other way. And I feel like when I talk about these articles, when I talk about this topic, I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, Jared. I'm just trying to tell you the way the world is and the way that this stuff works. And you have an opportunity to become professional. And it'd be one thing if this wasn't the most easy information to access, Jared.
Mhm.
You can learn how advertising and marketing work in YouTube in one day.
Yep.
You can educate yourself on how to run a better business. This is not brain surgery. That's the reason I don't have sympathy for what I'm saying is because it's an ethical, moral problem.
Yeah.
It's not a information problem. It's that there's a person, the people in our industry are so driven by ego. A lot of them are very lazy and they don't want the world to be the way that it is. And so they spit against the wind every single day until and it's like you're the one covered in spit, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Like this is you're not helping yourself. Like
yeah.
you just accept the so like if we're spending more than $1,000 a lead for a merriment, we know that that's bad. You don't need to tell us like, oh, see, that's a ripoff. It's evidence that it's bad. It's like no, we did it knowingly.
Well, but also cost averages, like if you combine what we made, we found gold in some other areas. So like, I don't know.
You never know. And not
It's
only that, you still don't know because we don't know how many additional weddings we're going to get.
Mhm.
Because really, what you have to do with those new leads, if you spend $1,000, that lead actually gets cheaper and cheaper
Yep.
every time they refer somebody to you. So you might end up
Exactly.
making $30K off of $1,000 lead.
Exactly.
You never know.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's just like you can't try to make everything perfect. You have to just be okay taking some risks. That is how advertising works.
Yep.
If you can't afford to take risks, you can't afford to advertise.
Mhm.
And that I think is the other unfortunate problem is like people's budgets are not structured properly.
Yep.
You can't advertise if you need it to work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Like it can't be like every time you advertise, it's a little bit like going to the casino.
Mhm.
You know, you could be throwing it into the dumpster 100%. And so, and when you're first starting and when you're only using like, how many people have gone on to Meta and are like, well, I spent $10 on, this.
Oh,
I
I
don't
mean,
even know if you can
that
spend
you're
$10.
exaggerating, but I'll see
Yeah.
people like say something like,
Oh, it doesn't work.
"It
I
doesn't
spent
work.
$50 on this or
I spent
$100.
200."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not enough money.
Yeah.
You need thousands. You need to spend thousands
Yeah.
because it's just it is never not a numbers game.
Yeah.
It is always 1%.
Yep.
You need to be able to afford. I don't mind playing slot machines, Jared. I like slot machines. I play them maybe once a year, so
Yeah.
I don't play often.
Yeah.
But I remember I took my guys. Me and the we were working with Lindsay at the opening of that casino, and it was amazing. It was like all these great filmmakers. It was like the dream team. It was like Henry and Mac and Adam Grumbo and
Yeah.
Aaron Tharp and Larev and I'm gonna forget people.
Yeah.
KJE, like all these amazing people were all on the same team. Nate and Jake, like it was awesome. I told him, I said, guys, here's how you got to gamble. If you're gambling, all that matters is having enough money to gamble enough times. And all that matters is a jackpot. So if you're gambling and you're like, oh my God, gambling doesn't work. I did 20 spins for $5 and I didn't. It's like, dude, you did 20 spins? You need to do, I think the numbers like professional slot machine guys will say is like 300 spins minimum.
Mhm.
You have to be able to afford.
Mhm.
And you'll still like wipe out a lot.
Mhm.
But every once in a while, you'll make $2,000.
Yep.
And it's like, is that a good business plan? No. Is that like, it's just, I'm just explaining to you, it's more like that. Like it's more like a slot machine
Mhm.
where all that matters is give yourself more opportunities.
Yes.
Then it is like this curated experience where you're shopping for customers.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the idiotic, ignorant, manipulative to sell classes garbage that is stuck down the throats of all these unsuspecting wine moms who are trying to start a wedding business.
Mhm.
It's not true. Advertising is gambling.
Yes. How much money did you lose that day?
I always make money. I made $800.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a matter of like, are you 3 spins away or are you 298 spins away?
When I sit down a slot machine, I spend no less than $500.
Mhm.
Unless I'm like, like just sitting there doing like at an airport or something.
Right.
But if I'm like, I'm gonna go down from my hotel room and play slots,
Right.
and then I'll just like have a
Well,
number in
and
my mind.
it just comparing it to marketing, it is sometimes it does create a false sense of like maybe someone does spend $100 and they get one booking out of it. That's a $10,000 wedding. They're like, okay, this is my expectation moving forward. You're like, no, just because it worked that one time
No.
doesn't mean it's got. Now you might spend $1,000 on it, thinking you're going to get 10 weddings, and you get 2 weddings out of it.
The problem with the ideal client as the only way you get leads is that it's very diminishing returns.
Yes.
Like, say your thing is like, we're a cute couple, like Jay and Mac.
Mhm.
Cute couple, right? If you look at their feed, it's mostly them just hanging out and being cute. They're great filmmakers too. What if every single married couple copy their exact strategy?
Isn't that what already happens?
Yeah. And now are they all as successful as Jay and Mac?
No.
Exactly.
No.
It's not unique anymore. Like, what is unique, what is always works for all time in all markets is I have a thing I want to buy. Do you do it? That's why advertising is nice.
Mhm.
You don't have to deal with that crap. You're not trying to stay ahead of trends. You're not trying to like stand out and be unique and be like, oh, I shoot pictures like with my dog.
Mm.
Like, that's cool. That's a valid form of marketing and sales. It's just like one aspect to your business is like that curation and that branding. I am all about that. It's not the same as advertising, and you need both.
Mhm.
Most likely. Most businesses need branding, marketing, reputation, status. Like, all these things go into it but at the bedrock is, how am I getting new leads? And it's like most people, like, I don't know, man. I don't know why, like, I feel like I'm being so common sense, and when I talk to people, no one agrees with me. I don't understand it. Like, am I mental?
In terms of getting a certain number of leads, like
No, just in terms of like that this is a problem. That
Mhm.
people should stop doing this. That people's like are being misled. That our industry needs to course correct.
Well, if people want to be successful, sure.
Well, no, but the problem is the people that are the most successful also disagree.
Well, I think the
They're
people that are
just in a
most
different
successful,
world.
yeah, they're in a different world because it's like they're not dealing with B to C. They're dealing with B to B. And that's very different. Like if a planner is reaching out to you 20 times, you're going to book 15 of those, 10 of those,
Maybe all
right?
of them.
Like it's a different strategy and it's, you put all your eggs in that basket.
It's equally as expensive though, or more,
Oh, sure.
or more. Like how much does Engage cost? How much does all
Yeah.
these things cost? It's all risky
Yeah. Until you're in with them,
until you're in. But it's like, but most
then
people
you don't have to spend it all.
Well, yeah, exactly. But most
You're
people,
Eric McVeigh, a very successful photographer. You don't have to be at Engage.
most people who are showing up at Engage now are walking away with nothing.
Yeah.
And they never will, because they spent $8,000. They had enough money to do it one time.
Mhm.
It's over for them. And if they would have spent $8,000 on the knot, they would have made a lot more money.
Maybe. Again,
If you,
It's
I would
gambling.
say most likely yes,
Sure.
because, and I'm not saying they should.
I think the odds are higher. Sure.
I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying I don't hear anybody complaining about that.
Yep.
I don't like, and I that's what I mean. We have a broken culture
Mhm.
in the wedding industry because people don't understand how money works or how clients work, and there's really very little actual expertise on this that's actually delivered. It really, I don't know why it bothers me so much. I don't know why, because honestly, I'm doing fine. Like, my
Yeah.
advantages are the fact that I know this and other people don't.
Well, I think you're advantaged, and our companies are advantaged because we are so diverse in terms of the types of weddings that we're doing. We do real luxury weddings, 7-figure weddings. Then we do a lot of 6-figure weddings, and then we do a lot of weddings that are, $50,000. So educational, understanding of the different parts of the market. We have a unique perspective for sure. So yeah, I think, anyways, I don't know if that's helpful for anyone, this whole episode.
I guess I would say this. The article, while not being totally accurate, is also not totally wrong.
It's meant for entertainment, I would say.
Yes.
If you like those kind of elitist New York magazines.
If you are reading that, you probably aren't going to have your opinion changed one way or the other, which I think is on purpose. So,
well, I think it would galvanize your perspective one way or the other.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think at the end of the day, does the not have a fake leads problem? I don't believe so.
Not more than anyone else.
Yes. I think, does the internet have a fake leads problem? Yes.
Yes.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Nothing. So that, like,
Cry on the New Yorker magazine. That's
ugh,
what people can
these
do.
poor Poor people. So I think at the end of the day, hopefully,
I just think it's so funny that they went to Marcy Bloom to talk about the knot.
but that shows you how pointless it is.
I know.
It's like Marcy Bloom,
Marcy, why don't you advertise on the knot, Marcy?
So Marcy, how's your knot profile? Like,
Yeah.
it's like she's like, what? Like, who cares? Like,
Those people are still around? What's going on?
like you know what I mean? It's like
We always thought it was a joke.
that's a perfect example. The wedding industry story is told through
Yeah.
the eyes of the ultra successful and the ultra pathetic.
Yeah.
All the normal people, nobody hears our voice. And that's my actual thing that makes me annoyed is the actual way the industry works.
No one's
is-
listening to you, Jay.
No, nobody's listening to any normal people.
Yeah.
Like the actual way the industry actually works is never actually talked about.
Well, I'll close with this. Anytime there's a mass migration due to articles like this means there's more opportunity for other people.
Moneyball, my friend.
So throw money at it now. Because I was talking to another
Hit them where
person
they ain't.
the other day, and I was like, hey, if there is migration away from the knot, it means those good people are still going to be sitting there, and they're ripe for the getting. So I'm not spending any more money on them. I think we'll do fine. I want to spend it in other ways.
Oh, and I would totally. if we're still spending money on the knot in like 5 years, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Like, I'm itching for a better way to spend my money.
Yeah.
So I am not a knot fan. I'm more
Yeah.
just like
Long term, I mean, that article actually hurts our opportunity because it's not only wedding people reading that article.
it's mostly normal people.
New York people that read the New Yorker, maybe, LA people or whatever. It's metropolitan people that are reading that and going, oh, I didn't know it was a fake bad website. Now I'm not going to go there.
That's a website for peons.
Yeah.
I'm not a peon.
I'm not going to go there anymore. So it actually hurts us a little bit, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wedding Film School Show. If you guys did actually like this episode, make sure that
My hour-long rant.
Yeah, exactly. Give us a star if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Give us a review. That would be very, very helpful. Check out our Facebook group. That's where you can interact with the broader community and see.
Check out our knot profile.
Check out our knot profile. Leave us a review there as well. Make sure you're tuning in next week to right here on the Wedding Film School Show.